Good morning and welcome to Gateway Rotary.
Good morning.
Felix Figueroa, would you please do, and nobody dropped dead. Would you please do the Pledge of Allegiance?
Guests and Rotarians, please join me in the salute to our nation's flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Bud Blake, would you please do the four-way test?
Fellow Rotarians, please join with me in the four-way test in the things we think, say, or do. First,
is it the truth?
Second,
Is it fair to all concerned?
third,
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
fourth,
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
and fifth.
Is it fun?
So our visiting Rotarians this morning, Graham, you're so well behaved. Everybody needs to pay attention to Graham because he's the most well-behaved person here and he's making you all look very bad.
Man, reverse peer pressure, love it.
He just has no friends.
So our visiting Rotarians this morning are Ken Balsley from Lacey.
Yay!
And Bob Perry from South Puget Sound. Guest this morning, Lori.
I have a guest. Peggy Williams is here from the Green Realty Group, and she's going to be joining our class. So
And another guest this morning is David Hemingway from the South Puget Sound Club also.
Hey, David! Hemingway's the best one.
So are there any announcements this morning from Lori? Go ahead. Please
All right,
welcome
Lori!
first of all, I want to thank everyone who did the Reading Across America. It was Joe Downey, Tom Carroll, Shannon Glenn. It was really fun reading to all those kids and hearing their interesting questions. And I hope we can do it next year. And also, I am promoting the next social. It's Dr. Seuss's birthday.
Yeah.
And so it is the 7th of March, and it will be at Top Rung from 4 to 6:30. And it is a birthday party for Dr. Seuss. And so since it is a birthday party, you should bring a gift, which would be a book. And we're going to donate them to the South Sound Reading Foundation. And there will be cake. So hope you can all come, even if you can just come for a little bit, it'd be great. So, thanks.
Yeah, that will be great.
Are there any other announcements this morning? Nate? Give it up for Nate.
Today is the second of the St. Martin's Young Professionals meeting for our Rotaract Club. Rotaract it's a group of professionals under the age of 30 that meet, and it's an opportunity for networking and learn more about Rotary. It's our opportunity to show them who we are to get more younger members into our club. Over 70% of people who attended the first meeting said they were interested in learning more about what Gateway Rotary does in the community and about Gateway Rotary. Because of this fact, I hope more people will come today. It's from 3:30 to 4:30 at Harnett Hall on the St. Martin's campus. If you're interested, let me know. I'll shoot you the email with information. If you're planning on attending, please raise your hand today. Woo, awesome. So these people also know where it is, so please talk with them. I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you.
Hey, Nate.
Madeline, do you have anyone?
I do.
Let's bring up Madeline.
I brought her up the other day, but nobody wanted to talk about her. At the junction.
Good morning, everybody. Before we get started with our new inductee, I would like to recognize a couple of people. As you know, the first of the year, actually the end of last year, our membership committee decided we wanted to have mentors because we wanted to retain more members. And with the wonderful ability of Dan, thank you. Dan Weiss, he helped us write this up. But since then, Mary Weiss has been doing an amazing job of finding mentors and getting people hooked up. And I want to thank the people who did sign up to be mentors, but especially let's give Dan and Mary a round of applause. So today, I have the privilege of inducting somebody that I proposed. So would Ed Kunkel and would Jerry Farmer come forward as his mentor?
Oh, all right. Yeah. Jerry hooked up with. Yeah. Nice.
Does that make Jerry a hooker?
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I'll get blamed for it.
Ed's gonna be sorry that I'm the one that proposed him. Yeah, well. Anyway, let's hear about Ed Kunkel. He grew up in Lacey. His favorite places to hang out as a teen were Starbase 1 and the Lacey Drive-In Movie Theater. Wow. Ed was a volunteer firefighter for the South Bay District at age 18. He graduated from North Thurston High School in '86. He married his wife Brenda in May of 1992 at Sylvester Park in the gazebo.
Wow, gazebo.
Ed has 11 years of active service in the U.S. Army and Air Force, has been all over the country and overseas, but there's no place like home. Been a real estate, really, how did you guys say not to say it? I know. I was trying to get, anyway. He's been a real estate professional for 19 years. He's actively involved with realtors, chair of the Community Service Committee, part of Government Affairs Committee, and a major contributor to Realtor Political Action Council. He's a member of Lacey Chamber. He's a diehard Seahawks fan. He's pretty good at drinking beer and selling real estate.
Yeah.
Ed's favorite motto is 5 o'clock somewhere. Lacey is Ed's home, and he's grateful to be part of this wonderful community. He's also a candidate for Lacey City Council Position 3 and would greatly appreciate your vote.
Whoa, nice. Way to work that in.
Yeah. Wow.
Jerry can help you out. my motto, it's 420 somewhere.
Oh,
Not really. I was just
March
Madeline, would you pin Ed, please?
I know, thank you, Jerry.
And this is the pinning process. What we do with new members, they're pinned by the people that proposed you.
Okay.
Any questions?
No, not so far.
Okay, thank you very much. If you have any questions, just ask them.
Okay.
Oh, that's good. This is a woman that puts in 47 earrings every day. Can't handle it. Yay!
Please help me welcome Ed Humble to Gateway Rotary.
Are there any more announcements? All right, Len, bring it on up.
Hey, Len.
Good morning, Gateway Rotary. All right, how many people got at least one email from me this week? How many people got 2 emails from me this week? How many ignored or have me in their ignored Dropbox? Yeah, I knew that was the case. All right. So first and foremost, the one that's coming up the soonest, March 28th, we have the Paul Harris Awards dinner. We have a lot of folks that are going to be recognized in this group, and let me tell you something. We're behind the 8 ball. 46% of the Yelm club is attending. 11% of the Lacey club is attending. 2% of Olympia is attending, but that's a different issue. We're at 9%, and that's not good. So, I sent out the email trying to get some more people to go. Why do you want to go? And why are you raising your hand, Ken?
I want to tell you that there are flyers on the table that tell them what you just told them.
Well, they also got an email from me that told them everything I told them, plus a link to get there, plus all the information.
And register at paulharrisdinner.com.
I don't know why I make announcements. I should just announce Ken Balsley and he can take care of it for me. But yes, thank you, Ken. Go to paulharris.com and you can... dinner.com, thank you. And you can go look at my email. It's got all the information there. Please sign up, because what is it for you? Well, you can find out a lot more and support all these folks that have done great things for our community and great things for our Rotary. So let's make sure you support your fellows. You might be sitting right next to right now someone who's going to be awarded that day, and you want to sit there and recognize that. Second, I was going to announce the social, but thank you very much. Make sure we're here to celebrate the happy birthday social, and we want to make sure we're all in attendance. It's always a fun time. So thanks for announcing that one, Lori. The last one is the second email that I sent that went out last night, and this one I really want to see a good attendance from, and that's going to be the district conference, May 9th through 12th. And it's going to be up in Victoria, BC. Really want to make sure that we got good attendance at this one, and we're supporting the big things. I sent this out so that you could get a better understanding, and I think some of you might be new to the club. Ed's going to be there, right, Ed?
Absolutely.
Ed's brand new. He just got inducted. Ed's going to be there. And if you're somebody that's like, well, I've been to 47,000 of these things, like Mr. Carroll, then maybe you're thinking, well, maybe I'm not going to go. Are you going to be there, Tom?
Absolutely.
So look at that. Both sides of the spectrum. I'm going to be there. I hope that doesn't make you say no to the event, but it's going to be a fun event. I'm also trying to get out as much information about what the logistics are. On Thursday, there's a ferry that leaves Port Angeles at 2 o'clock. And we can also do some carpooling to get up there. So I'm trying to encourage you in any way possible to make sure that we take away any pressure or any way for you to say no. So we want you there. We really want you there. And you can learn a lot about what's going on in Rotary. With that said, I hope you can sit the computer, because I've got the great privilege. So I'm going to announce a classification speaker today. It is his 63rd birthday, and this classification speech by Tom Carroll will all be about the end of the Cold War.
Nice. All right. Oh, I need the thingy.
Oh, the thing.
Down forward.
Down is forward. All right, so
most of you aren't old enough to know about the Cold War, but some of you are. Graham certainly is. And I was at the last act of the Cold War, actually, and some say I was responsible for it. And so I want to share that story with you. We're going to go through this really quick. Let's see. All right. I'm downing.
Mine is like a steel.
Oh, you're using technology, huh?
I don't know.
Oh, Janine, you're a little,
The doodad.
Hey!
Gotta take my cool Gotta take the cool sunglasses off.
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk about the last act, but in order to do that, I got to kind of walk you through the training I had in the Navy, okay? And so I have some interesting photographs of that period of time. Okay, so I started off, I got commissioned in Newport, Rhode Island. Here I am marching. You can see me right in the middle there. I'm like third from the left. Really looking really cool. This is the only time you'll ever see Navy guys marching. No, we kind of unlearned that. And then the next step was I got assigned to a minesweeper in the North Pacific. This is very awful duty. This is a 172-foot wooden boat. And this is the USS Implicit. I was a navigator and then eventually the second in command of this ship. And the patch there says Iron Men and Wooden Ships. Like, coolest patch ever. In Latin. Then I got selected to be a special intelligence officer. Intelligence, that's right. And it was with the Office of Naval Intelligence, and I got sent to Denver, Colorado for the Joint Intelligence Training course there. And it was highly secret, this training, the most highly classified stuff that we have. And so I can't really talk too much about it, right?
Yeah, right.
I really can't. But I have some photographs that I was able to smuggle out of some of the training that I do want to share. So here I am. This is some weapons training I went through. And then also we had classes on how to keep classified information from beautiful women. And so we would get drunk with these women and they would try to get information out of us, and I failed that class like 4 times. And then I have a picture of some of my classmates from the class. Here they are. We had to learn how to wear different nice outfits and stuff, and martinis. We had to learn how to make martinis. So it was really difficult training in intelligence school. But we did do some interesting stuff. This is the Dilbert Dunker. Some of you have probably seen this in some movies where you fake like you've flown a jet into the water and then you get tipped upside down and you have to get out of that thing. Ejection seat training, parachute training, water survival training, all that kind of stuff. And then that led us to being a certified naval intelligence officer, and everybody looks like James Bond, so it's pretty cool. All right? You like yeah, it's a cool uniform too. All right, so then the next assignment I got was at Whidbey Island. This is with the Prowler Squadron, EA-6Bs. These are electronic jamming aircraft. This is actually my squadron flying over Whidbey Island, pretty cool. And we were there or I was there from 84 to 86. And then, look at the mustache.
Wow.
Just casually sitting in a jet before we go out and attack the communists here. Just another day at the office. So in that 2-year period of time at Whidbey Island, 2 7-month deployments to the Mediterranean on 2 different carrier groups. So lots of time at sea. And then Lori and I got married. Look at her, right? So, I know, clearly bad judgment on her part. Okay? And then I immediately, we got sent to Rota, Spain. So there's Straits of Gibraltar down there to the south, and Rota is in the Bay of Cadiz, which is one of the oldest ports in Europe. I want to say the oldest port in Europe. And this is the place where we were. This is Fleet Ocean Surveillance Information Facility, Rota, Spain. This is Navy's Intelligence Center for Europe. And that's a huge network that the work building was inside of that. Some of you may have seen one of these things down in San Diego on Silver Strand. There's one there. There's one in Kamasei, Japan. There's one in Scotland. And I think maybe 2 other places in the world.
You just broke your television.
These don't exist anymore.
Sure.
They're all decommissioned. Okay, so while I was there, really, military intelligence really is information technology. And so this is a graphic that's now unclassified that shows Navy command and control, communications, and intelligence, and surveillance, and reconnaissance. That's what that acronym is up there at the top. It shows all the systems that we were responsible for, from overhead to under the water, to on the water, to spies on the ground. It was an all-source Intel Fusion Center, and as a part of that job, every once in a while, any lawyers in the group? Great. So in international law, laws are based on treaty and practice, and the oldest international law we have is maritime law. And so how many people know what the international international border is at sea? How many miles? 3 miles. Somebody said 12, right? 12 is for commerce and fishing, but 3 is the international boundary. Anybody know why it's 3 miles? It's the farthest you can shoot a cannon effectively, hundreds of years ago. That's what it was based on, right? If you could control it, you could own it. So every quarter, the Navy sends 2 ships into the Black Sea because of the Montreux Convention that says that even if you're a country that isn't bordered on the Black Sea, you can have access to that waterway only if you use the right. Right? So in international law, if you don't use the right, you lose the right. And so we would send a couple of ships up there. And additionally, there's another law that we wanted to exercise, the law of innocent passage. That means you can even take combatant ships inside that 3-mile zone as long as you're not operating. So you can't fly aircraft or shoot missiles or anything like that, but you can just pass straight through. And so that is the Crimean Peninsula in the Black Sea, and the very southern tip is Sevastopol. And that's the headquarters of the Black Sea Fleet for the Soviet Navy. And so our job was to go up inside 3 miles of that point of land. And we took these 2 ships, the Karen and the Yorktown. And then we immediately got intercepted by 2 Soviet ships the minute we got into the Black Sea. And this is the only photograph I could find of the patrol boats. This is actually a toy. But it's a Soviet toy, so that's pretty cool. And then we had Hind helicopters, flying all around us, trying to scare us off. And then this picture actually was in a Soviet newspaper of the Black Sea, and most people think this is actually a picture of me. And because I was the intelligence officer assigned to these 2 ships responsible for all the collection. And so the idea was the Soviets were angry that we were going up there and we were spying on their operations. And this is an actual chart, a Soviet chart showing the tracks of the ships and how close we got up there. And this is the collision. This is the Krivak that hit the Yorktown. And then this is the Merca ship that hit the ship that I was on. These happened at exactly the same moment. Now, our sailors were pretty pissed off when this happened. And so I took this photograph. That's a Soviet May aircraft, an anti-submarine warfare aircraft there. Kind of looks like the P-3 ones that we see flying around here sometimes. And so that's all the time I have, but I actually have video of this incident, and I have a Soviet video showing the other side of it. It's very interesting. It was right at this was the last act of the Cold War. After this, we signed treaties, and really the Soviet Union collapsed. And so I'm taking credit for that. And so as a result, we're still in the Navy, and here's a picture of Lori and I when Sean went through boot camp at Great Lakes. So thank you very much. Nice.
Now it's my privilege to introduce our guest speaker today, and that is Teri Pablo. Teri's currently the Yelm Community School CTE and Communications Director and has been in Yelm since 2010. In 1996, Teri started in education as a business teacher at River Ridge High School after working as an industry professional in state healthcare insurance, sales, and human resources, as well as retail management. She has and still serves on many committees and advisory boards connected to the industry, which are focused on developing opportunities for education and industry partnerships. Please join me in welcoming Teri Pablo.
In front of podiums very well either. Well, good morning and thank you for having me back. It's been about 2 years, I think I came, John Johnson invited me and I shared a little bit about career and technical education. And what I'm back here today to share with you, I was at the Olympia Master Builders and shared the same kind of story about how we can build education and business partnership, and so Janine invited me and I really appreciate being able to come in front of you. Some of you are connected to our schools, whether in Tumwater with Brian Hardcastle or North Thurston with Brad Hooper. Now we've got in Olympia a Pat Cusack and myself here in Yelm. And so my counterparts, my colleagues in other districts are doing the same work and we're sharing the same story pretty much wherever we go. So if you hear this, I hope this is another drip of water to start thinking about how do we develop those industry partnerships with education. And career and technical education right now is, I don't want to say it's a hot topic, but I think it constantly is coming up of how do we help prepare our students for the jobs and the pipeline of employment that we have coming up. We hear retirement, we hear industries are going through struggles trying to find people, and we also hear that students are less engaged and ready to work. So how do we close that gap? And I think that that's about what we're doing in school and how you give us that feedback. And so we've found a tool that we hope will help us and engage you and maybe be what we call an easy lift on your part. We know how busy you are. We know how difficult it can be to volunteer with all the different community service events like you're doing and sharing today, but also to be in the schools. So hopefully today this will be a little step into our world and hopefully start to close that gap for students. We always are hearing about that talent pool, and what we're trying to do is motivate students. Troy and I were actually talking this morning about how do we just get kids out of the classrooms and get them on a field trip and go see some professionals. I couldn't get one. I have 1,500 kids in my school and they didn't want to go on a field trip to Seattle. What? Exactly. It's a different world right now. They don't want to leave their social environment. They feel they're connected through their phones. We need to re-engage them in activities outside of the classroom. We need to invite them into industry and get them engaged and get them excited. As soon as we do, as soon as they have that taste, they're in. But they aren't really able to get out of that environment as a whole, right? And so we really want to start bridging that gap and motivating students to start thinking about what might be next for them. And it's not just about getting out of high school, it's what's your plan after high school. And so we obviously start with instruction. That's where we're at. But that's not always exciting to kids, right? Great, I come to school and I learn, but now we want to find how do we engage them in those skills and those knowledge that you want, right? We need some of that feedback and we need some of that evidence so we can tell other people that you really want this. And so we are looking at what we call the 16 career clusters. And there's a handout if you want to take a look too. There should be one at least for everyone to table. If not, I have more. But if you look up there, almost every industry that you're in, or even your business might be in multiple of these industries. If you are in real estate, you also have accountants. You are connected with lawyers. You're connected with a lot of different businesses. And so we are really focused on creating pathways and opportunities for students to say, where's my interest and where do I develop my skills? So right off the top, you're probably finding somewhere you're connected right now. You say, that's me. I fit in marketing, or I fit in information technology, or I fit in customer service somewhere, right? You can probably find your industry. So keep that in mind. And there's also one up at the top which is called 21st century skills. That's English language for soft skills, for work readiness, for those things that we want them to be able to come into our workplaces and be able to do without us telling you this is how you show up on time, this is how you talk to people, this is how you work as a team. So that's what the 21st century skills are. The industry standards that we're teaching in class we want to make sure are connected to what you want and of what we call an industry standard, right? So we have a platform, it's called Precision Exams, and there's other exams out there. You can use an OSHA 10 certificate, you can talk about food handlers cards or first aid, all the different kinds of industry certifications you can get. But we have a partner that really has outlined with industry panels the knowledge and skills necessary to work in a particular area within that field, okay? And so they have a blueprint of the things that we teach. What we need to know is, do you value that? We need to know if you say, yeah, we really want to know about, we want kids to come in or employees to come in with ethics and social responsibility. That is valuable to us, right? And so how do we get that feedback from you? And that's what this is all about, is kind of this ratings tool so that I'm going to talk about. So that kids, when they earn this certification, when it says I've mastered these skills and I've demonstrated this knowledge, that they can walk out from our classrooms and say, I can come in and talk to you and say, this is what I know and this is how I'm going to use it. They have some talking points for themselves. They have a skill set. It's going to build their resume. But they also need to know, that's that motivation factor, whether you value it or not. We need to know whether you value it. So that goes into the industry standards review part. That's where you come in. Now, right now, in front of the legislature, Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction, Chris Reichdahl, has proposed a bill which is, and I already forgot the number, and I'll tell you at the end of the slide, I think, or I'll send it out to you. But the bill is for multiple pathways to graduation. Right now, our students have to have, well, our current sophomores are the ones who have to achieve this, but most students have to have 22 to 24 credits to graduate. So if you think about that, that's every class, every day, for 4 years they have to pass. No failure, okay? And they also have to pass 3 assessments, English, math, and science. So far, it's been all academic. Great skills that they need to have to get out, but when they don't pass that test, what is the other option for them? Maybe they're not planning to go to a 4-year university. Maybe they're planning to earn their certificate. Maybe they're planning to go into a technical, military, trade industry, right? There are a lot of other routes. So before the legislature is a bill that says we want to honor those routes. We want to honor multiple classes in a sequence that come with an industry certificate. We need some evidence. We need to say that this is what you value, right? So the tool in front of you are just 5 easy, well, probably 4 easy instructions, but you have to register. And it's basically telling us who you are, what industry you're in, and tell us a little bit about whether these skills are valuable to you. Each one of those career pathways has many different tests. So in my program, I think I offer about 17 different courses that are aligned to an exam. Greenhouse management, financial literacy, accounting, video production, web design, marketing, lots of different tests. But what we want to know from you, is this a skill that's valuable? Because you will then feed back into those industry panels to say, let's shape that certificate so that it's meaningful to you. And if it's so meaningful to you, what do you then acknowledge when the student walks in, right? If you knew, and it doesn't matter whether it says precision exams or anything else, it's whether it's a set of skills that you value, right? And so we want to know, do you value it? So that we can motivate the students to gain these skills and be able to walk into your industries and talk about them. Okay? So that's where we go back into that endorsement piece. I would love, and I know my colleagues would love, to be able to put your logos on those certificates to say, if you go into this industry, they will recognize that. They will tell you that they value that. And they might even give you a job interview just because you have completed that. That has set you apart from someone else. And that's what we're trying to do, is help kids gain those skills so that they're setting themselves apart in an industry they want to pursue. Here's an example in our local community, and I mentioned greenhouse. I don't know if you've ever been out to Jason's greenhouse in Yelm. Very large business. He's grown. He's a Yelm grad and continue to give back into our community. But he partners directly with my greenhouse teacher. And so they work consistently he advises her. We do a $22,000 plant sale in the spring. We blow out in the first day, and it's amazing. But that doesn't happen easily. The teacher constantly is working with him, he's providing guidance, and he goes through and has said, if your students pass this test, I want them to come see me. I want to hire them over the summer. I want to give them an opportunity. And every year he hires 1 or 2 students over the summer that sometimes continues as they go into further education to work in his greenhouse. And he's growing. He's got now 2 locations that he's building. And so that is something he looks at as a way to give back to the community, give back his expertise, and provide work-based learning experiences for kids. Does field trip tours, does lots of different things. But it's really that partnership between the teacher and him that has guided her instruction, right? It's improved her instruction of the students so that they are now more ready to go into the workforce. And so that's just kind of that best practice model and example, and I'm sure some of you are doing it. I know I could probably ask you to raise your hands how many have gone to a career fair, how many of you have spoken in the classroom, how many of you have done interviews. There's lots of great ways to be involved. But this is one that we, if we can get some local or even regional support for these types of exams or certifications, it gives us a little bit more credibility to help students move forward, and that we know that these skills are something that could potentially help in a multiple pathways opportunity for them to graduate. Because not every student has the same pathway and the outcome. We could probably all tell our stories, which we just heard one, is everybody's individual, everybody's story is unique, and we want to create as many opportunities for kids to follow those dreams and those pathways as they go. Make sure I hit the right button there. So, we want to recognize these certificates locally. We want to help kids feel that they've achieved a standard and that they have something to show for that when they walk out, but we also know that that comes with those extended activities, being able to go to the field trips and go to conferences, being able to come out and do some job shadows and internships. And also, sometimes it's just visiting, giving them that experience to stop by and say, you know, how do you get involved? How do you just become part of that business? And so I had talk about Rotary. We had our FFA students present to the Yelm Rotary last week, and the students said, what do they do? Why are they all here in the morning, you know, this early? And I said, they're just like you. They are giving back civically, and they believe in your community, and they believe in networking, just like your FFA group does. As students, they're learning the civic responsibilities in our extended learning groups, whether it be FBLA, DECA, Skills USA, FFA, and as they become adults, they want to carry on that same tradition, and Rotary is one of them. And it was a great way for them to see, oh, I can keep doing this when I become an adult? It was just this aha moment, right? To be a part of that experience. And I think all of those things are the easy lifts of where can we be involved. This kind of industry rating only takes about 15 minutes, right? Then it's how far do you want to go from there? How much further do you want to connect? Be somebody who endorses it, or be somebody who wants to create internship and job shadow experiences for kids. That's that next piece. I think our pipeline, we're starting to see that we have to find a new way of bringing people into our industries. And I think this is one of them, is just helping kids make those connections to career pathways. So, the ask. This isn't the easiest. I have an email ready to come back out to you, so I'll send it to Janine who can share it. But there's 2 ways you can just get involved and get, you know, just tip of the iceberg. It's just basically join the rating network. And there's a link there that basically says who you are, which pathway of those 16 that you're associated with, or maybe more, because you might have other pathways within the business or industry you're in, and say, hey, yeah, I want to know more, keep me involved, keep communicating with me, and Precision Exams will help us do that. If you want to endorse, you can load your logo. If you want to learn more and wait on that, that's not a big deal. And then the second part is the handout that I gave you, which you do have the link and information. It's just simply to register and to take a look at those tests. Basically, that's what they are. They're exams in a particular career field, and you get to tell us how you feel about them. Are these standards that you believe students should know when they're coming out or coming into this industry? And that's valuable to us. If we see some low ratings, maybe that changes the direction. We don't teach that, or that doesn't become part of the test anymore. But it's really getting that feedback, so we have some common assessment that we're doing across our community. And actually, this program is across our state. We have, I think they said, over 127 districts across the state that are using this tool. So we're able to compare our results of our students' achievement across the district. Not only us, but across our local districts, and then we can look regionally and then statewide. So it's just really a nice tool for us to compare and help students achieve and be ready to come into your industry. So I really wanted to open it up, and if there was any questions, but you can pretty quickly also just do this on your phone. It just takes about 5 seconds to register, and then from there, it's how much extra time. And I know that when we were at the Olympia Master Builders, there was a lot of excitement and a lot of questions. So I wanted to give a chance, if you had any questions about this or how we can connect business and industry, we would really love to hear that, because that's important for us as CTE directors to be able to take back into our programs and connect our teachers who are teaching all day long. Right? They're teaching all day long and they don't get to come out and talk with you. How do we connect you to them? That's really important. We want to be able to bridge that gap also. So, just wanted to open it up and provide time. Yes?
Well, first of all, thank you. I love what you're doing. I know the Port of Olympia has been engaged with what all the CTA instruction has been, and got a chance to present down in Yelm. That was a fun time. Are you working at all with the Rotary Club of Yelm to talk about an Interact Club, or start looking at all the CTA programs to engage Interact in some type of way?
We actually had the Interact Club for a time. We had an advisor who was coming in with Rotary, and the student interest kind of waned a little, and so I think that it's always just that ebb and flow, but we've had one actually at the high school for some time, and I just think there was this last year less student involvement. But what they're doing a lot of partnerships with our school, the Yelm Rotary, and so they do a student of the month, and there's a lot of small projects that we're doing. So it's not the full-fledged club right now, but we are doing a lot of partnership activities with them.
What are some opportunities for the higher education institutions better do the handoff if they are coming to a community college, technical college, or four-year university to really help continue this type of education?
Yeah, so I think that every pathway has an entry point, whether it be community, technical, trade, 4-year, and at the schools we obviously do our career fairs in the fall, so that's a great way for any higher education to come in and be a part of it. I also think that we need to create those opportunities to take kids into that environment, right, into those field trips. So one of the things that we do is I'll take a trip out to the welding program at South Puget Sound, and then I'll stop over at the plumbers and pipe fitters apprenticeship, and so the students get a kind of a full day tour and see 1 or 2 different higher education or employment and training opportunities. And so we tie those directly to our welding class, and they go out and do that. Or our manufacturing class, and they're going to go out and visit a manufacturing company who employs, and then also maybe the advanced manufacturing of South Puget Sound. So we're working to strategically do those, but it is, again, if people are interested, and we have to have those partnerships so that we can plan them. But it's kind of creating these field trips. The students don't necessarily volunteer on their own. We have to kind of push them a little bit into this environment and say, we want you to see this, because as soon as they see that aha moment, they can see themselves there, right? And some of them just don't see what's next until they experience it. That's a good, it's reach out with us. I've got business cards. We want to kind of keep growing that connection. There was a couple other hands.
What's your secret sauce that you get the kids out and about? Because I'm a big brother, and my little actually is in Yelm High School, and so we've done some trips to Toyota Olympia. He wants to be a mechanic, and just sort of give him a little taste of it. But how do you get them, motivated to go on the field trips? What you said they've changed so much in the last number of years. How are you getting them to get engaged in these things? Because there's a big gap between 16 and 24, where kids just aren't getting engaged in a career and just sort of wallowing.
That you're right. What's the secret sauce? What's the magic bullet? What do we want to call that? Is how I think it has to do with finding what motivates them and making that personal connection. So what you're doing and saying, what's your interest and how can I help you get there? I think they don't know what questions to ask, and so when they have an adult that they encounter who asks them those questions and says, hey, well, why don't you go talk with or check in with, we have to be knowledgeable and surround them. So I'll just use the opportunity to talk about what Graduate Yelm is. And so our platform in Yelm is that every business in town can speak to what graduation means and what it is to have a plan after high school. So we have 60 business partners right now that don't do anything, but when a student walks into their place of business and say, hey, what grade are you in? I'm a 12th grader. Great, what's your plan after high school? What are you doing? They're being asked by adults in the world, what's your plan? What are you going to do? How are you going to get there? If adults are not asking them that question, they are under the radar. But as soon as they're asked that question, I don't know. Why not? What can I do? Who can I help you connect with? We have to surround them. I think that's the only magic bullet we've come up with so far, is that if they're in the 3rd grade and they walk into your store, you ask them that same question. So what are you gonna do? What interests you? What skills do you like? Obviously the question's a little different by the grade level, but we wanna have at every grade level things that our industry and our businesses and our community can talk to families about. Oh, did you know that you can start applying for the College Bound Scholarship? Oh, did you know that you can start getting involved in earning dual college credit in high school? You can be in a welding class and earn college credit now at high school? We have to be educated, I think, as adults and as businesses to help engage that conversation, because they're not engaged in that conversation themselves. They're not choosing to go out and seek it, but they'll answer you or they'll start to think about it. And if one person a day asks them that question, they might think that it's important if enough people are asking them. All right. Well, thank you. I have business cards. I'll be here till you guys are gone. So if you want to talk to me afterwards, I'd be happy to chat. Thank you.
And the book that Teri signed is the Humans and Hydrosphere book. To go to Pleasant Lake, our literacy project. This morning we have a special presentation, a short special presentation from Nate. So give it up for Nate.
I'm back. So I think I've talked about this before with our club. Something that I value the most is, yes, Rotary does a lot of good work in the world, our club does a lot of good work in the community, but something that I value the most are the relationships I've built in this club over the past year and a half. And that's something that I parade around to everyone when I talk about what I'm involved with in our community. One of those people that mean a lot to me, that I look up to and view as a mentor in my life, is Tom Carroll. Today is his birthday.
Yeah.
He doesn't have his birthday on Facebook, so no one would know. But if any of you are fundraisers, you know we gotta be good at finding information. So I found out how old Tom was. So today he's 63.
Yay!
Tom, let me explain why the number is important. So Tom and Lori are what I would call as philanthropists. Philanthropy is not just about how much money you give to an organization. It's about time, talent, and treasure. How do you volunteer? How do you participate? How do you get other people involved and inspired? And out of that you give because of how much you care about the work or the mission of the organization. And Tom and Lori do that for Rotary. And in Tom's honor, I would like to kick off and ask others to join me in making a gift to the Rotary Foundation. I am pledging to do $25 to the Rotary Foundation in honor of Tom's birthday today. Will anyone else join me in doing that?
I'm in.
I'm in. I'm in.
Okay. Can we shout out how much? So 25?
25.
50? 75? 100? 125? 150? 175?
He's adding them up.
So
63.
63, there we go. I'm bad at math, so I'm just gonna cap it. Say we're over $200 at this point.
Yeah.
I'm going to come around and collect. If you have cash, that's great, and then we'll get it to Mike to deposit, and this will all be in Tom's name. Thank you all for joining me in this. Happy birthday, Tom. We value you, and I value you. Thank you for the work you do in our club and for Rotary.
Yeah.
Can I give to Lori's husband instead?
Yeah.
And now it's time for a fine moment with Martin McElliott.
Yay, Martin! Woo!